In 2006, the European Union introduced the digital tachograph, aimed at replacing the old disc system throughout the European Union. This was extended to AETR contracting parties from June 2010. The objective: more precise controls by improved road safety and better protection of hauliers' rights. A depot somewhere in Belgium. It's the usual morning rush. Here they're working at full stretch. Over 1,200 tons of merchandise have to take to the road for delivery to the four corners of Europe. Peter goes to the dispatching point to be advised of his load and pick up the appropriate paperwork. Routine? Not quite. Peter was one of the first to start using the digital tachograph and one of the first to promote its merits, beginning with the associated chip card. A personal card that can't be forged, giving the issuing country, the driver's identity, and the expiry date of his card. Thanks to this card, the employer can check before each departure that the driver is fit to drive, given the regulations in force. Everything's in order, so Peter can leave. 8 a.m. and he supervises the loading of his semi-trailer. This only takes half an hour, but this is a period of work that must be recorded on his tachograph. To do this, he could simply insert his card into the tachograph slot and start the machine in work mode before loading. But he can also introduce the data manually later, specifying first of all the length of time taken and then selecting the work symbol among the pictograms. If he hasn't done any work before taking the wheel, the procedure is even simpler. All he has to do is record the country or region code of his departure location before starting his engine. It's 8:30 a.m. and Peter leaves the depot. As long as his engine's running, his card is held by the tachograph. This is to guarantee that all necessary data have been recorded. It's 600 kilometers to Peter's destination, where he will expect to pick up a second driver who will continue driving until they reach their destination in Baku. If all goes well, it should take about 8 hours. 12 noon. Peter has been on the road for over 3 hours. He'd like a break. Before leaving his cab, he sets his tachograph to brake mode, but it's forbidden to remove the identification card before the end of the journey. During the break, the tachograph automatically records that the driver is inactive. For information, the AETR rules stipulate the maximum number of driving hours per day, define the maximum length of each driving period, as well as the frequency and length of rest periods. – 1 p.m. After a 45-minute break, it's time for Peter to get back on the road with about 300 kilometers to go. Just in time has been a boost for the transport sector, but it's also made it more demanding. Being late is out of the question. As soon as he arrives, the second driver will take over the wheel to continue the journey, since the 17 tons of merchandise must immediately be put on the market at its destination. 2:10 p.m. Bad luck. An accident is causing a tailback of several kilometers. Peter could now well be late to collect the second driver. It's not looking good. It's impossible to make up for lost time. Too bad about the delivery. They'll just have to wait. 5:15. To make matters worse, Peter has now been driving continuously for 4¼ hours. His tachograph alarm sounds, telling him he has only 15 minutes left before he must stop. 5:30. second alarm. Peter knows now that if he continues driving, he's committing an offence, as he will indeed have been driving for more than 4.5 hours. So close to his destination, the temptation is too great. Too bad, this time he's not going to stop. 5:40 p.m. Luck is certainly not on his side today. A few kilometres further, a police patrol is checking vehicles. They're tough, and that's understandable. Accidents involving heavy lorries are usually serious, and they often occur because drivers break the rules on rest periods. Here, the patrol has a computer, so nothing could be simpler. The operation lasts just a few minutes. All the police have to do is insert the driver's personal card into a reader. The computer does everything automatically. Analysis of hours worked, hours driven, and rest periods. If an offence has been committed, it also prints off a ticket. If the patrol doesn't have a vehicle with a computer, there's another method of checking the data. The digital tachograph is equipped with a printer which can print out detailed reports. At the bottom of the report, a summary allows the policeman to quickly determine whether an offence has been committed. In Peter's case, this is not obvious because the total hours driven do not exceed the authorised limits. A detailed analysis of the report will nevertheless reveal the offence. Apart from the zones reserved for the date and time of printing, we find the identity of the driver, the number and expiry date of his card, the vehicle details, as well as the data about the tachograph itself, its manufacturer and its calibration. Then come the date of the control, periods for which no activity was registered, identification and mileage of the vehicle in which the driver began his day. Then, in order, details of the driver's activities in the morning, including activities manually entered into the tachograph. Then the afternoon activities. It's here that the police notice Peter's offence. 4.5 hours of uninterrupted driving, followed by a break period of only 3 minutes before he set off again. The final entries concern the kilometres covered in the described period, the time and place of departure, another piece of data introduced manually, and the length of time driven in crew, if appropriate, any malfunction of the card or the machine. There's a zone usually at the bottom of the printout reserved for the signature of both parties and the location of the check. If the printer's not working, all this information can be displayed on the tachograph screen. Whatever the method used, with or without a computer, the police can check data from previous days. If the control has already been carried out during this period, a clear sign appears on the report. Although sanctions depend on the legislation in force in each country, the police are never allowed to confiscate the driver's identification card.